Thank you, Chairman Plyler, and good afternoon to all of you here, and welcome to the regular December the 1st, 2022 meeting of the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners. As of before yesterday afternoon, this was going to be actually the last meeting for two of our commissioners after the election, Commissioner Fleming El-Amin and Commissioner Ted Kaplan. But as of yesterday afternoon, we actually have an election protest. We had our election boards here made a decision that's been appealed to the state, so our election will not be certified for a while. So during the time that we're waiting on that to happen, we have two folks here to my left who had thought this might be their last meeting. They'll be back for a few meetings and maybe more than a few. So I would like to, we have a nice group of folks here today. I'd like to ask you, if you would, to join me in thanking both Commissioner El-Amin and Commissioner Kaplan for their service and also for agreeing to serve a little bit longer in their term. So thank you all. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing to consider the expenditure of county general funds for an economic development project and authorizing execution of an agreement with Krispy Kreme Donuts. And Kyle Haney, our economic development director, will actually review the request.
Good afternoon, commissioners. So per our practice, we've briefed these items before, but today we'll reveal the actual name of the company. The first one is Project Circle. This is a company who I believe no one will need an introduction to. It's Krispy Kreme Donuts. They're headquartered in Winston-Salem, but have a large corporate presence in the Charlotte area. They manufacture and sell branded sweet treats, and currently have operates a dry mix facility at 1814 Ivy Avenue in Winston-Salem, which has 37 employees. Krispy Kreme is considering the consolidation of manufacturing operations from other locations, and are considering the site in Winston-Salem for an expansion of that operation. If they did decide to do this expansion in Winston-Salem, they would upfit the current facility with additional machinery and equipment, as well as building upfits. They are considering other locations, Concord, North Carolina, as well as locations in Georgia and South Carolina as well. If they were to choose this location, the capital investment we discussed, it's $5.8 million in total, part of that being in real property, some in machinery and equipment, and create 180 new full-time jobs there with an average wage of $33,150 plus benefits. Looking at the incentive that's proposed, this is a 7-year incentive. It would be 50% of the estimated 50% of the tax base that was created for the county, which equals about $109,600 over that 7-year period. Looking at the 10-year projection down at the bottom, that's $302,360 coming into the county, and the county would retain 64% of those taxes over that time. And then for your consideration, the other incentives that are being considered for this project, some of these have been approved, others will be considered. The city of Winston-Salem is looking at an incentive as well. North Carolina funds and the Whitaker Park Development Authority, as well as some customized training from North Carolina Community College. This does authorize us to offer that incentive, as well as apply for that building reuse grant on behalf of the company. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Kyle? Thank you. This is also a public hearing, and speakers will have up to 15 minutes total to speak in favor of this request and up to 15 minutes to speak in opposition. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this request? Right ahead.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Vice Chairman Martin, and the members of the County Commission. Mark Owens, 411 West 4th Street here in Winston-Salem. Thank you so much for your consideration of Project Circle. This is obviously a legacy company that we want to continue to grow. I'd just like to add to what Kyle Haney shared, that this also retains the existing facility and jobs of 37. So this is an additional opportunity to add new jobs to our community, as well as retaining the jobs that are here in our community. We want to continue to invest specifically in areas that have been underserved, and then Ivy Avenue provides a great opportunity to really invest into our community. 180 new jobs while retaining those 37. We want to be able to continue to have upward mobility and provide opportunities for all. And your consideration allows us to be as competitive as possible for this project. We look forward to the company hopefully making their final decision after all of the incentive offers are done. We will be presenting to the City Council early next week on Monday. So we appreciate your consideration, your leadership for all these projects, especially Commissioner Kaplan and Commissioner El-Amin. We want to say a special thank you for your time in supporting projects over the years. Happy to answer any questions if you may have them. Thank you.
Questions for Mark?
Mark, did they send samples today?
No samples today, but I can go pick some up if the sign's lit up hot and ready for
You know, that thought crossed my mind.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this request? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this request?
Move approval of the request.
I'll declare the public hearing closed, and do we have a motion?
So move approval of the request.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Chairman Plowler, second by Commissioner El-Amin. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing to consider the expenditure of county general funds for an economic development project and authorizing execution of an agreement with the Nelipack Healthcare Packaging. And Kyle Haney, our Economic Development Director, will review the request.
One second, I'm going to try to find the slide here. So Project 11, like with Project Circle, we will release the name of the company today. So this is Nelipack Healthcare Packaging. This is a company that does not have existing location in Forsyth County, so this would be a recruitment project. They manufacture medical packaging, including medical trays, blisters, pharmaceutical packaging, and sealing machines. Headquartered in Cranston, Rhode Island, and they're a global company, 1,400 employees globally with 10 production facilities, 3 here in North America. They are considering purchasing an existing facility, 110,000 square feet, located at 475 Enterprise Park Boulevard in Union Cross. They are also considering locations in Guilford County as well as in Anderson, South Carolina. Looking at the capital investment from this project, if they chose to locate here, they would invest $20.3 million in both machinery and equipment and building improvements, as well as create 79 new full-time jobs with an average wage of at least $49,000. And you can see a sample of those jobs on the slide. The proposed incentive on this project is a 5-year, 50% of the taxes, which equals $196,208 over that 5-year period. Over the 10-year period, $868,000, and the county would retain 77% of those taxes. Looking at the other incentives that are going to be considered from other agencies, $72,000 is what the state's looking at, as well as $69,000 in community college customized training, and the city of Winston-Salem will also be considering this for $295,907. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Kyle? Thank you. This is a public hearing, and speakers will have up to 15 minutes total to speak in favor of this request and up to 15 minutes total to speak in opposition. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this matter? Give your name and address, please, and if you can keep within about 3 minutes, that'd be great.
Well, good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Laura Lee with Greater Winston-Salem, Inc., 411 West 4th Street, Winston-Salem. We're really excited about this project, Project 11. This company has done a nationwide search, and we're their top destination, so we're really grateful for their consideration, and we are supportive of the opportunity for them to bring these quality jobs to our community. We're also really thankful for your support in growing jobs and capital investment throughout our community, and with 2 projects like Mark was saying today, it's an exciting afternoon for us. And we do expect this location for the company to be a flagship location for them. They know that they'll bring a lot of suppliers and other customers to this facility, so that'll also be exciting for Forsyth County to be that foray into their new operations. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Hello, how are you? Good. Thank you for calling the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners public session line. The session is for comments only, and questions cannot be answered. Please state your name and address for the record.
George Fox, 750 Camo Shanter, Braille.
Okay, and what city? Is this Winston-Salem?
Yes.
Thank you. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each, and a 30-second warning will be given. You may begin.
What, I'm on right now?
Yes, sir, you are.
I wanted to talk about the contract with the Humane Society. Is this the right time?
Yes, sir, you have 3 minutes to speak about it.
All right, so first off, I understand that the contract with the Humane Society is up for negotiations right now, and I just want to call in support of the Forsyth Humane Society. Our experience with them has been incredible, just especially in contrast to some of the places where we've gotten dogs previously in other counties. The current partnership really does seem to work, and I'd hate to see the Forsyth Humane Society go away. From what I understand, it was before they took over that the animal control, it actually sounded like abuse to the animals, and so that it has been cleaned up, and I hate to lose it. $1.5 million seems like a reasonable amount, considering the size of the county and the size of the operation, and it just seems like that caring for the least of us will make the county look good. But I definitely think it's worth the expenditure, and we need to support the Forsyth Humane Society.
Thank you for your comments.
All righty. Madam Clerk, could you read and call people up by card? And all speakers, let's try to work on 3 minutes. I'm keeping track, and we'll move forward. And just give us your name and address when you come up.
Lynn Bird, please come forward.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I will keep this short. The vote to extend the contract between Forsyth County Animal Services and the Forsyth Humane Society was removed from today's agenda and rescheduled for December 15th. Delaying the vote may have a devastating effect on our community by setting the county up for failure due to delays in receiving necessary licensing and other validations that will be needed moving forward. A vote today provides everyone necessary breathing room. Please hold the vote today rather than waiting until December 15th, and please vote to extend the contract. May we all extend to each other grace as we move through this process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Geraldine Kelly, please come forward. State your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Geraldine Kelly, and 936 Boziki Road. As Lynn just stated, you were supposed to vote today. It was on the agenda for the partnership between Forsyth Humane Society and the county. I please ask you to put it back on the agenda and vote today. Like she said, there's going to be some devastating consequences if you don't vote this in. And again, $1.5 million seems like a reasonable amount to take care of the unwanted animals in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa Legier, please come forward. State your name and address for the record.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Melissa Legier. I'm at 6285 Stanleyville Drive, and that's in Rural Hall. I thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I am a 15-year volunteer veteran, starting with Forsyth County when they were in animal services, through with Forsyth Humane Society, and I currently provide foster care for many of their cats who have medical issues, and they are restored and they are adopted to loving families. I again will also request that you put the vote back on the agenda for today, as opposed to delaying to the 15th. The folks prior to me have already acknowledged as to why that is. The results could be devastating for the community, for the county, and most of all for the animals in their care. We will not have time to adequately prepare to transition services if the delay goes forward. I wanted to address one thing. I'm not going to talk about data and things that you've already received. I've followed the county commissioner meetings on this topic, and one of the comments from a commissioner was related to verbalizing the need for the public to provide more support to the shelter and to the care of the animals and the welfare, and I don't disagree with that. Whenever the county was responsible for animal care, I was there in many capacities as a volunteer, and I saw what they tried to do with the resources they had. They did the best they could, but it wasn't good. And the community spoke up for the welfare of the animals. We made a lot of important changes, and it's all been invaluable. Responsibility does not fall on one entity and the people who work there to close the life-saving gap between those who needlessly die and those who are saved. It's a community responsibility to work together. Now, Forsyth Humane Society has brought experience and programs to the table that are working, and they are diligently educating the public and supporting the community while they support the care of the animals that are sheltered. This is important because the community members, they can't help solve a problem that they don't understand or that they don't know exist. And there's still a lot of work to be done. And I know that Forsyth Humane Society will continue to serve the community in whatever capacity they're able to do so going forward. But you greatly reduce the footprint of their impact if you remove them from the county and being able to provide the care and assistance that we need. And so I thank you, and I do hope that you'll reconsider adding the vote back to your agenda for today, and that you will vote in support of this. As everyone has stated, if you look at the support given to other counties that are smaller than us, who accomplish even less than we do, that $1.5 million, even though it's a big sum, it's not unreasonable. And I ask for your vote, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Betty Craven, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Betty Craven. I live at 2055 West Academy Street. And thank you all for being here today and listening to all of us who are advocating for animals here in Forsyth County. I used to be an advocate for children, and I've worked with Dr. Martin before on the PTA Council and advocating for arts and education. So now that I'm an empty nester, I've taken on another passion, which is animals. There's not been a day in my life where I have not shared my home with a dog or a cat or both or multiples of all. And so I'm here today to advocate for these animals who cannot speak for themselves. Today, and as of the past 7 years, I chose to stop working with people and to work with animals. So I would call myself a professional pet sitter. I don't take any animals into my home because I have a cat, and she wouldn't like me very much if I invited others to come into our house. So I stay overnight with these animals, not only for one night, sometimes 3 weeks in a row. And so I get to know these animals, and all they want is love. All any animal wants is love, because they're the ones who provide unconditional love to humans. And I can't say that about humans. So we have a precious gift on our planet of these animals, and we don't have the right to take their lives away just because some people don't want this particular animal because it's not a pure breed. I would say 90% of the animals that I take care of are either strays or mixed breeds, or they have been rescued. from one of the many rescue facilities that we have in Forsyth County. I know the Humane Society does a huge amount of work with intake, and I'm grateful for their large facility now where they have space. But unfortunately, since COVID, people decided to adopt more animals. And unfortunately, just like with a Christmas present, people to figure out they don't want that animal because it takes too much responsibility or they're not home. And so they will give it up, which is now taking up space in these rescue facilities. So we have to find more foster parents to take care of, which requires vetting. That requires volunteers and more staff. So I look at what a facility like the Humane Society and ARF specifically, that's where I volunteer with just cats. The volunteers have a large job, and anyone else that works there to vet appropriate fosters for these animals until they can be adopted. So I'm asking you to please vote today on this issue before we have more animals unnecessarily euthanized. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mary Mahoney, please come forward. State your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. I'm Mary Mahoney. I live at 2600 Ludington Drive in Winston-Salem. I did not prepare a speech today. I wasn't going to speak, but I'm here to support the Forsyth Humane Society, and I urge you to put the vote back on for today. I've been a volunteer for over 5 years since I retired from my professional work, and I can tell you from firsthand experience the joy that we see at the animal shelter and the joy that they bring to this community is overwhelming. We have to take care of our animals. They are all God's creatures, and we need to keep that in mind when we vote, because they can't speak to you today. I'm trying to speak for them. Please do everything you can to support us. We need your help every day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Aaron Ryan, please come forward. State your name and address for the record.
My name's Erin Ryan, 1716 West First Street, Winston. I'm going to read. I was employed with Forsyth Humane Society for 11 years, 7 years before the partnership and 4 years during the partnership. Prior to the partnership, it was my responsibility to go to animal services and select animals we could rescue. So I have a very clear understanding of what returning to that old system means for our community and our animals. Our medical program is essential for the safety of our animal population, staff members, people of Forsyth County, and their pets. To illustrate that, I'd like to tell you about the work our medical team at the university location did on a random Tuesday last year. On Tuesday, August 21st, 2021, the medical team issued 136 preventative and treatment medications. They administered 44 vaccinations. 9 heartworm tests were performed, 27 exams for minor illnesses, and our veterinarian examined 9 animals that required more intensive care. Our veterinarian also performed 22 spay and neuter surgeries. But the medical staff was not just responsible for the animals we had in our 2 shelters. They were also responsible for the ongoing care of the 62 dogs, this is just that Tuesday, 62 dogs and 339 cats in our foster program. Without a fully funded medical team to support our foster network, we would be exposing our community to additional hardship and risk. On that day, 24 animals were placed with community members. 4 were reclaimed, 10 adoptions happened, and there were 10 foster placements. All of those placements required medical care. 2 dogs were euthanized that day. Based on the data, before the partnership, that number in August would have been much higher. If you consider the work the medical team did on that random Tuesday, you will understand that a fully funded medical team is not a luxury. Their work is where the mission of Forsyth Humane Society and Forsyth County government intersect. Their work helps create a more humane society, and it also makes Forsyth County a safer and happier place to live. Please vote in support of the proposed budget to continue the partnership with Forsyth Humane Society and Animal Services. I have seen with my own eyes what happens to the animals when this partnership does not exist. When dogs and cats and puppies and kittens are euthanized simply because they have a cold or they're scared in the shelter environment. We cannot choose to go back to a system that we know will result in almost 4,000 adoptable animals per year being euthanized. Please vote in support and allow Forsyth Humane Society to continue their work of making Forsyth County a better home for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chairman, we have one more speaker card.
All right.
Diane Brammer, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Diane Brammer, 121 Woodbriar Road, Winston-Salem. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I've been an animal welfare advocate for around 15 years. I volunteered at the Forsyth County Animal Control Shelter prior to the partnership with FHS. Then the save rate was 36%. Only 36% of the thousands of animals that came into the shelter were able to make it out alive. I was also there when the partnership was formed with Forsyth Humane Society. We've worked tirelessly to bring that save rate up to a 76%, which is much better than it was, but we still have a way to go. I've fostered over 100 dogs throughout the years. Many of them needed medical care during the foster. Otherwise, left in the shelter, they may have been euthanized. So I do work with the medical team on a lot of those foster dogs. I've served on 2 boards of animal welfare nonprofits, so I've been around, I've heard a lot. Before Forsyth Humane Society came into the picture with our animal services, not a lot of the nonprofit groups communicated together or cooperated with one another. But that changed when Forsyth Humane Society came on board. We formed a coalition, an animal welfare coalition, and we have regular meetings, and that's the whole community. I heard in the last meeting there was a concern that one of the commissioners felt that they had needs of their people and their constituents, and they may be more so than what was needed for animals. And I believe, Commissioner McDaniel, that might have been you. And I probably screwed that up. You didn't say it quite like that. But what I learned when Forsyth Humane Society came into the picture is that humane is not just for the animals, it's also for the people. And prior to that, sometimes we in animal welfare might not think as much of the people, but focus more on the animal. But no, that's not the case. So the Humane Society takes the people and the animals into consideration and is for humane treatment of all. So when constituents in every district have animals that they can't afford to feed or can't afford the vet care for or just don't have the supplies like a leash or a collar or a kennel, the Humane Society will step up and assist in that area. I was there Saturday when a woman came into the facility, said she needed dog food. Without a hesitation, someone went in the back and came out with dog food for her. And this is what our community is. It's people and it's the animals. And we're speaking for the animals because they can't speak for themselves. But I would like to implore you to reconsider the vote for today as well. We need this partnership. I can't imagine going back to a 36% save rate in this day and age, when Winston-Salem is supposed to be the town of arts and innovation. That would be rather barbaric, wouldn't it? So everybody deserves to have a pet. Even if you're poor, you know, you still deserve to have a pet. And if you can't do that without the help of the Humane Society or some of our other wonderful nonprofit agencies in the county, then, you know, we're here to help. We're here to help the pets and the people. So we need your help to do that. And we would really appreciate your consideration of sticking with the Humane Society. I couldn't imagine that the county could go back to providing the kind of care and nurturing and community support that the Humane Society does. We need them, they need us. It's a great partnership, and I sure hope it continues. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to make one comment before we go any further. I think the issue on the action, we have two briefings before we have our regular meetings. We briefed this item at our last briefing. We'll brief it again this afternoon, be the final, and then the action is the 15th. The proposal we're looking at is expanding, is providing funds for the next 3 months while we continue to discuss sort of there are just a few details in this issue and in this contract. And if we're going to have one, we need to iron some things out, and we need to work on that. So the action that's proposed, it'll be briefed again today, and then the action being on the 15th would be whether to extend our services for 3 months. And I think Mr. Neff has been assured that there's I think a strong consensus we couldn't take over the shelter on January 1. So basically, it's a 3-month extension on the existing contract, and I cannot speak for my fellow commissioners, but I do believe the 3-month extension is viewed very favorably. So that's the issue about voting. There was never an intent to vote today anyway. And also, Mr. Chairman, that's not a debate. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to request we have to take a 5-minute recess, please.
Yes.
All right, we'll take a 5-minute recess right now. Hello, hello. The microphone is live, and we are in living color here in Government Center. We've had some interesting discussions, and I just talked to a lady who was very nice, and I appreciate her coming up. She and I had a great discussion. Of course, my question was, the lady who gave us the number of medical treatments that little dogs have. I was telling her I've got a little Shih Tzu at home. He's 17 years old, and he and I, we actually talk to each other, and he knows how to tell me where to go if I don't do what he wants me to do. But the fact is, I think every one of us want to do what's right, and what's right is the Humane Society has been a wonderful group to work with. And from my perspective, I'm very happy to do that. But, and I did hear her say it, and I'm not making any comments pro, con, da-da-da-da-da. I'm just telling you what I talked with the lady a moment ago about. And I said, you know, when I get paid, I've got to know how much money I'm going to spend on my family, my house, my car, da-da-da-da-da. And we have a $550 million budget. We get $140 million to the schools, $85 million to the sheriff. We spend a lot of money, and it's your money. And I've never heard anybody give me a figure on how long, you know, if we give you $1.5 million, and I'm not saying all of you, I'm just saying, let's say we give you $1.5 million, and by January 15th, you're back in here saying, well, you know, we didn't figure on that. It's going to take another $1.5 million, and that has happened in the past. So the question is, what specifically, on average, not every day, because you can't tell when a dog or a cat or any other animal is going to get sick. But what are we spending our money for? Because people actually call me and call all of us and say, well, I want to know what you're spending your money on. And I said, well, I don't know. The Humane Society is taking care of the funding on it, and we don't ask for a line-by-line figure. But I think everyone in this room would agree. If I come up to you and I say, I want you to give me money to do this nonprofit thing, well, what are we spending our money on? I don't know, but I'll tell you when we finally get to the bottom line. That's part of the problem. We know what we want, but we don't know how much we want, and we have to be responsible to everybody in this county, and we're talking about millions of dollars overall, and I'm just speaking from a personal point of view, not for the commissioners. But it's nice to know what you're spending your money on, not if we don't get some more money, we're going to have a disaster. Well, if someone in Washington, D.C. or Raleigh came in and said, if you don't raise taxes, we're going to have a disaster. So what? Tell me what the disaster is going to be, how is it going to get there, and what can we do? Go ahead, come on up here, I'll let you speak. I'm not trying to take advantage of everybody.
Thank you so much, Mr. Byron. And General Commissioner, we are simply asking today for the grace to have that vote to extend
don't argue with
time. That's all we want,
Yeah,
all right?
don't
But
argue with that.
I can certainly tell you what the dilemma would be. The devastating part would be if the vote is extended to December 15th and you choose not to vote in favor of the contract, then Mark Neff fires 35 people 2 weeks before Christmas.
Don't want to do that.
The
No.
dogs that are and cats who are left in the shelter, they're left in the shelter, will be euthanized.
Tell us.
You won't be able, as the county will not be able to walk in and take over the operations of the shelter.
Yeah, I agree with what you're
because
saying.
you won't have the proper licensing.
Give us the numbers.
And it's not that we don't want you to have the proper licensing. We want you to have that because we want to continue this, right? The numbers will come, Mr. Plyler. Even Dr. Martin said in an email to me, I misunderstood the numbers. I made a mistake. We need breathing room. Everybody up here on this commission, everybody back here in this room representing Forsyth Humane, we all need to take a step back, drop the temperature of this conversation to a simmer.
Good.
Open up the table where we can all sit there and ask each other questions and understand the issues. Dr. Martin understands that he is not an animal welfare expert. Mark Neff understands that he doesn't know the county budget inside and out. Mark is the expert in the room on Forsyth Humane. Nobody up here is. You are all,
That's
you're
the point.
experts,
Yeah,
right?
we have.
Give us time.
Give
to
me a
make
chance.
it-
I don't argue with that, but this is going to.
Lynn, you're out of order. And I just think it is possible, the amendment issue, I mean, we have a provision, I mean, what you're suggesting, that is not a major issue. I was talking to our county manager over the break just briefly. It's not prepared, it's basically, for us, it's a budget amendment to take care of 3 months and to have that detail. Here's the budget amendment that's going to take care of 3 months.
Well, that
Is what it
number's
gets at, and provides the extension. So there's a little work on our side to have that available and ready.
Yes.
But I think there's every person sitting here right now would tell you, we're in favor. In fact, I'd be glad to agree, if I think all of us would agree, we're going to extend the contract for 3 months. But there are a few little details on how we do our business that just have to take place.
We want to do this.
That's wonderful. That's all, that's the assurance we need. I mean, but what happens, can we have the assurance that on December 15th, the vote is going to be in the favor of extending the contract? Because that's the only concern we really want to address right now.
I understand that, but you're talking about something you're giving us a 2-week deadline. You should have done that 2 months ago.
COVID's been a problem for everybody.
You can justify anything.
Yeah, we can all
This
justify.
This is really getting a little out of hand.
Yeah.
So I think you
I'd
have.
like to sit down now.
Yes,
because
you
I
have.
think
You
I've
have.
made my
You
point,
you
and
have
I
our
thank you very
assurance.
much as a commission for listening to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I think you got our assurance. We're going to extend the contract.
And now that we have comments done, and this is not the end of it, I hope we can get together. There's certainly, before we talk, I'll be glad to talk to you, but Mrs. Whisenhunt would like to have the floor. Gloria?
No, I'd just like for this discussion to end, and let's go on with the agenda.
You're on your way. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Could
Yes.
I make a motion on item 8, please?
What's on item 8?
I'll read it and we'll do that. It's an amendment to the fiscal year 2022-23 budget ordinance that appropriates unreserved fund balance to establish the 2022 PayGo capital projects ordinance.
I'd like a motion that we approve the PayGo projects with the exception of the RJ Reynolds Stadium and apply that $500,000 to county projects contingency funds.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yeah, I would oppose that motion.
I would like a second, please.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'd like to oppose the motion. And that I'd offer a substitute motion that we approve all of the PayGo projects that are listed here.
Any discussion?
To do what?
Need a second.
Approve all the PayGo subjects.
Second.
And we have a second on that from Fleming El-Amin.
So we now have a motion to amend, which has been seconded.
Mm-hmm.
So the next vote would be whether to amend the motion.
All right, the first vote is, how many in favor of amending the motion? Aye. Raise your hands.
Aye.
Wait, amending the motion?
Yeah, amending, that's what we said.
4-3.
I don't think you know what you're doing, but whatever.
Well, for Tanya, for Commissioner McDaniel's benefit, define what you're saying, Mr. Attorney.
Yeah, I'm sorry, this is a little confusing. The vote before you right now would be to amend the motion made by Commissioner Whisenhunt.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
To include all.
Not the motion, not her motion, but to amend her motion to include Reynolds funding in there.
All of the projects that are listed.
All of the projects?
Yes.
Okay. Do we all understand that now? Do you understand, Commissioner Martin?
I understand, but I think the issue here is that there's some of us, I can speak for myself, that do not want to vote for the Reynolds Stadium and will not. And I do not, but I would like to vote for the others. So by considering them all together, the vote is going to have I will have to vote against that motion, and I would rather not vote against all the other projects. And
You're not
one
voting.
way that this could be handled, we could consider every project separately if we wanted to. But I actually thought that Commissioner Whisenhunt's approach was a way to separate out the one item that has had some dissension, and we could vote on that separately, and then we could get the first out of the way where there's agreement, and then we could vote on the second.
Yeah, I would agree with
That
that.
was the intent. So I'm really sorry that Commissioner Kaplan chose to take that approach.
Well, if you vote against the motion to amend, then you would go back to vote on Commissioner Whisenhunt's original motion.
But if we just voted, if I counted right, there were 4 people who voted for the amendment, which puts us back now, we're now voting for Commissioner Kaplan's motion. We're ready to do it, and I'm ready to vote against it. Whatever we got to do.
Any comments, Commissioner Kaplan?
Yeah, I now move that we approve all of the projects in item 8.
Well, I would just like to say to you all that there's only one person in this room who knows the history on this stadium, and that's Dr. Martin, because he negotiated the contract and the deal.
Yeah.
And you all are going against what the school board voted for if you vote to give money to the stadium.
You're right.
It is not a county project.
There
It
you
is
go.
a school project. And there's only one person. Now, Ted may know something that he thinks he knows, but he does not know what the negotiation was in that contract, because he was not there, nor was his wife.
Well, all this started with dogs. Now we're at football stadiums, so.
Well, I'll just mention that last week, in fact, I gave that history, explained why I would have to vote against it, because it is not consistent with a 10-year-old agreement. If the school district has withheld their part of the bargain, it's time now for Homeschool Advantage to hold theirs.
Exactly.
If the school board wants to pay for it, they already have paid for other things. If they want to pay for other things out of their funds, that is their business, but it is not our business. And that was my point last week, and that's why I'll vote against it. But if I have to vote against all of them, I will.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Attorney. The conversation today was about an additional $1.5 million. It wasn't about a football stadium. It wasn't about using all the money for one issue or all the money for not using. What's the best? My feeling right now is to adjourn and think about this until we come back next week. And
So the vice chair has declared that the motion to amend passed 4-3. Okay, so now the motion before you is what is in your agenda, and that is to approve all of these projects for the PayGo money. Now, if that passes, you're done. If it doesn't pass, then another motion could be made to include however many of those projects you want.
Well, the issue of taking care of the $1.5 million, how does that come within what you just said?
That has nothing to do with this. That's a separate issue.
That's right. We're completely off the issue that was discussed here.
We're not talking about Humane Society at all. These are the projects that are before you, or the numerous projects that are PayGo projects.
Yeah. Aren't you glad you became an attorney?
I'm thrilled.
Mr. Attorney, the motion that is to be considered now is Mr. Kaplan's motion to amend, and the amend was to approve all of them.
Right.
That's correct.
And that would include the football stadium, right?
I believe technically that has passed.
No.
The motion before you right now is to approve all of the items, including the Reynolds Stadium.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and vote on that. You want to call for the question there?
Go ahead.
I'll call the
All in
question.
favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All
All right.
opposed, please say no.
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 So let's just do a show of hands. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All those opposed, please raise your
Can't
hand.
count.
I think we just stepped off the curb into a puddle. So it's 4-3.
Did you just raise your hand again, Mr. Chairman?
No,
You didn't raise it the first
No.
time.
No, it failed. It was 3-4. It failed.
Oh,
I wouldn't let you down there, Don.
thank you.
I'm not trying to get on your case there, Ted.
So now we're ready for, is there another, could we return, maybe Mrs. Whisenhunt, Commissioner Whisenhunt would like to make her motion again?
I can't wait to hear it. What is it, Commissioner
I would like
Whisenhunt?
to make a motion that we approve the PayGo projects except for the RJ Reynolds Stadium and apply that $500,000 back to county projects contingency fund.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Commissioner Kaplan.
Yeah, I can't, her last comment takes it away from me. I don't know when public schools all of a sudden did not become a county project, but and particularly from someone who's been on the school board. And the other comments made about something about some promise made, I guess, 10 years ago, Dr. Martin, I don't remember what it was.
10 years ago.
I can tell you lots of people make lots of promises. Some they keep, some they can't, some they try. I mean, if everybody kept their promises, obviously we'd have no divorces and everybody be going down the road. But those things happen. And in this case, the price of the project went way up, mostly because of inflation and others, a delay in raising money. And it's a project that's well worth the time and the effort that a lot of people have put in for a long time. I went to Reynolds High School. We didn't play there then. They want to bring it back and have it at their place. They've got a place, they got the land, and I just hope that this board can see fit to give them this little push to get this project underway. So I would once again like to amend Commissioner Whisenhunt's amendment to take up the items that she has suggested, but leave the 500 out for us to debate here and now, and not put it in a reserve.
Any further
Call
discussion?
for a hand vote.
What you want to vote on, Commissioner Linville?
His
Well, is there a second?
We're considering his amendment. All I'm asking for is for a vote by show of hands.
Well, you don't have a second yet.
Do we have a second for?
No, we don't.
For
Okay.
Commissioner Kaplan's amendment?
I think,
I will
second the.
so we've got a
There's a
second.
second by Commissioner El-Amin.
I'd like some clarification from Commissioner Whisenhunt. When you made those exclusions, all they asked for today was $1.5 million.
Sweetie, you are talking about dogs.
I know I
We're
am.
talking about a stadium.
I know.
The stadium is
I know we're talking-
500,000.
The
Please
stadium
don't.
is no question, but are we
But
going to
the-
get to the dogs?
No, we don't get to
Not today.
dogs.
All right.
So we have a second to Commissioner Kaplan's amendment, and that amendment is to consider all the projects and set aside the Reynolds Stadium for further consideration or
And
a
the word
separate
is consideration, is that correct?
It's just not a part of the, in other words, it doesn't have the part, it's asking to amend Commissioner Whisenhunt's motion by removing the last statement that she made, which is that the 500,000 should be applied to county projects, is what the motion is to remove that part of the statement to Commissioner Whisenhunt's, to amend it to Mrs. Whisenhunt's motion.
Do we have a second to Commissioner
We
Martin?
do, and we had the second was Commissioner El-Amin.
Okay.
So does everybody know what we're voting on?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
You sure?
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
All in favor?
So all those in favor of removing that statement, please raise your hands. All those who are not in favor of that being removed.
So it's a 4-3 vote. Now what?
Well, now that statement has been removed by the action of the amendment, and now we are back to the motion that is amended, which is to approve all the projects except Reynolds Stadium. So, all of those in favor of that, please raise your hand.
State the motion before you vote on it.
We just agreed on the amendment, and we now have.
You explained it, but give me specifics. What is the motion?
We're voting on all of the PayGo projects except the stadium.
All right, okay.
And
All in favor?
And I'm asking, we just had 6 people raise their hand, where would you like to be? Yes?
I'll go with you.
All right, so motion carries unanimously.
Now, I'm sorry.
May I make a motion?
Yeah, yes, go right ahead, Commissioner Kaplan.
That the 500 remaining in the proposal that is budgeted, I mean, we have the money, it's not like we're taking it from something, it be used to fund the Reynolds Stadium, the 500,000.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second by Commissioner El-Amin, and the motion is?
Fund the stadium.
Fund the stadium. I can't do that, Ted. We're not talking about stadiums today, but if that's what you want on the agenda, we can go with yes or no, right?
It is on the agenda.
All right. All in favor of Commissioner Kaplan's motion, please raise your hands. 2, 3. So it failed. I'm sorry. You tried. Now, I guess the best thing for us to do.
Opposed?
I'm sorry?
All those opposed, for the record.
4 to 3. Is that all right?
This print's a little larger. Okay. This resolution recognizing the accomplishments of Commissioner El-Amin. Whereas Commissioner El-Amin, who is a native of Forsyth County, North Carolina, was appointed to the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners in March of 2017 and elected in November of 2018. Whereas Commissioner El-Amin is academically accomplished and holds a bachelor's degree in economic and business administration and secondary education from Cornell College, as well as a master's degree at the American Graduate School of International Management and Northwestern State University. Whereas Commissioner El-Amin has been a longtime educator, teaching at Sister Clara Mahoney School, Winston-Salem State University, and Glenn High School. Whereas Commissioner El-Amin's political career in Forsyth County began with past County Commissioner Maisie Woodward, who encouraged his involvement on the Board of Elections as a precinct chair and later as chair of the Forsyth County Democrat Party from 2008 to 2016. Whereas Commissioner El-Amin is responsible for leading efforts in naming the Department of Social Services building after the late Walter Marshall and the General Library building, the Central Library building after the late Sylvia Sprinkle Hamlin. Whereas Commissioner El-Amin graduated from the FBI Citizens Academy, a program designed to foster greater understanding of federal law enforcement in the community. Whereas Commissioner El-Amin has served on the National Association of Counties Finance, Pension, and Governmental Committee, NACO Health Steering Committee, North Carolina State Ethics and Qualification Code Board, North Carolina State Public Health Qualifications Board, Bethesda Homeless Center Board of Directors, Children's Law Center Board of Directors, Creative Quarters Coalition, Juvenile Justice Prevention Council. I'm going to have laryngitis. Northwestern Triad Regional Council Board of Directors, Cylon Project Board of Directors, Triad Culture Awareness, Forsyth County Health and Human Services Board, Forsyth County Library Board, Winston-Salem Forsyth County Transportation Advisory Committee, and Forsyth County Audit Committee, all with distinction. Whereas Commissioner El-Amin is a dedicated family man who is married to Cassandra El-Amin, and they have 5 children and 10 grandchildren, which he loves very much. I added that. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners hereby recognize, honor, and thanks Commissioner El-Amin for his dedicated services as Forsyth County Commissioner to the citizens of Forsyth County. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be entered into the minutes of the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners, adopted this first day of December 2022. Congratulations. And I'm sure as you know that the manager created this frame for you.
This is original.
It's
I'm pretty sure
original,
about this.
yeah. Would you like to say a few words, or you want to wait a couple weeks or month?
I gotta say thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you. You know, the two people that were not elected that influenced my life too. Sality Mitchell never ran for office. She was a dear friend of mine. She passed away about 93. And later on Glen Avenue. I see her face. I guess that happens with time, huh? But neither one of them were elected women in any capacity. But they advised me, Fleming, don't you get close to so-and-so. Stay away from so-and-so. Don't you dare go over so-and-so. Those kind of people make a difference in our community. Thank you very much.
Did she leave anything out?
No. Thank you so much.
Mr. Kaplan, could you come forward, please? Keep it short.
Yeah, please.
Okay, here's your
Thank you.
resolution. Resolution recognizing the accomplishments of Commissioner Ian Theodore Ted Kaplan. Whereas as Theodore Ted Kaplan is a native of Forsyth County, North Carolina, and was first elected to the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners in November 2006 and has served 12 years as County Commissioner. Whereas Commissioner Kaplan served as the ex officio voting member of the Forsyth County Tourism Development Authority and spearheaded legislative changes to the membership of the board. Commissioner Kaplan also serves on the Smith Reynolds Airport Board, where his business acumen has been instrumental in growth of the airport and businesses located in and around the airport. Whereas Commissioner Kaplan has served on the National Association of Counties Finance, Pension, and Governmental Committee, NACO's Large Urban Counties Caucus, NACO Community Economic and Workforce Development Committee, Downtown Winston-Salem Partnership Board of Directors, Callidium Board of Directors, Local Emergency Planning Committee, and Forsyth County Audit Committee, all with distinction. You wanted me to say that, didn't you? Whereas Commissioner Kaplan was educated at R.J. Reynolds High School and Guilford College, and has dedicated his life to serving his country and his community in the United States Navy, 1968 through 1971. Thank you for your service. Whereas Commissioner Kaplan also served in the North Carolina State House from 1976 to 1982, and in the North Carolina State Senate from 1982 to 1994, during which service he became the Senate Majority Leader from 1988 to 1992. Whereas Commissioner Kaplan served on the Winston-Salem State University Board of Trustees, UNC School of Arts Board of Trustees, and the UNC School of Arts Geneva Society.
I didn't even know that.
I didn't either. Whereas Commissioner Kaplan is a dedicated family man who is married to Deanna Frazier Kaplan, and they have 5 children and 1 grandchild. Now therefore it be resolved that the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners hereby recognizes, honors, and thanks Commissioner Kaplan for his dedicated service as Forsyth County Commissioner to the citizens of Forsyth County. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be entered into the minutes of the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners, adopted this day, first day of December 2022. Congratulations.
So thank all of you. Thank the staff, Dudley. What a team you have. It's been great serving with all of you, those who are here and those who are not with us historically. My philosophy of government has been etched in stone since John Kennedy became president, when he asked that people ask what they can do for their country, not what their country can do for them. And I think That's a place we all need to be. But thank you very much.
Good.